Yo, what up, family? Welcome to another incredible Turn Up Tuesday. It's your boy Marcus. We back and we at it again. Let's go. Guys, it is going down and I'm so honored and excited to be here with you. So thank you for taking the time. Even if you clicked on this link on accident and you sit here for a while, your presence is appreciated. As we get ready to dive into Turn Up Tuesday, I got to give you all a disclaimer before we get into today's topic, right? Like, this is not the end all be all. I am not quoting the Bible. This is the mind of MJ, and I'm only going to speak my truth from the perspective and the experiences that I have. I look at the world a little bit different, and I wanted to share that with others. And I pray that you start to tap in your truth, find your voice, fall in love with it, and share it with the world. You have a gift, and it is your opportunity in whatever creative capacity you decide to share it with. Give it to your best. So, guys, with today's Turn Up Tuesday, we're going to talk about the art of effective communication. And the beauty of this is I want to start this off and make this 1,000% clear, is that I am not a perfect communicator. I don't pretend to be, I don't claim to be. And what I've learned in my existence and my observation of people is people who do claim to be expert communicators traditionally are not. Because one of the key components of effective communication is humility. Now, you can be a phenomenal communicator in your lane, but communication requires you plus others, right? It's the ability to translate information from one source to the next, the clearest, most effective and simple way possible, right? And that requires a level of humility to realize that how you communicate is not always how somebody else learns, listens, and or receives communication. Now, this has been very challenging for me because what I've learned is that all of the other aspects of communication have a tendency to either edify, expose, or distract from verbal communication, right? So I've had people who literally go, I can't really listen to Marcus. I can't really get down with it because he moves too much or he speaks with his hands. And, you know, anybody who grew up where I grew up, like, you speak with your hands. It's just cultural. It's built into us. So when I try to talk like this and more stagnant and rigid, I just don't get my point across. Now, what I've also learned is that there's opportunities where my tone will elevate, my tone will regress, my hand movements will settle and slow down so that I can add emphasis without being overwhelming or distracting, right? So there's a level of humility, and how you say something doesn't then cover the gamut. And what I have learned, again, if I say something that triggers you and or upsets you, you're welcome. Because the reality is that we get so rigid and so grounded in our belief that what we do is right, that means others are wrong. And I choose happiness over being right. I'd rather be happy than right. But what I'd rather do is, once I create that happiness, is share my perspective with those around me who are willing to receive it. Because it's like a buffet. Take what you want, leave what you don't. But we get so caught up like, yo, they're not communicating me like this. Oh, they're attacking me, or this is them versus me and me versus them. Chill, just relax, right? Your ability to effectively communicate is grounded in a couple of simple characteristics, right? The first one being humility, understanding that you still can be wrong. Man, as adults, this is a game changer. This is an absolute game changer. When you grasp the fact that whatever it is you believe in could not be 100% correct, allows you to openly communicate from a space of learning and understanding, right? When I talk to people who don't believe in God the way I believe in God, I'm not Bible bashing you. I'm here to have an open dialogue with you, because you might teach me something about my faith that I didn't even know. Because what I've learned is that some people who are adamantly against Christianity have studied it in a way that they don't even realize that their intention of distracting from it, taking away from it, is actually an edification of it. And that's okay. But I'm also willing to have open conversation with you, because my intention isn't to be right. It's to just share. And that's the power of communication, right? Being willing to share open and honestly and clearly with another. So once you grasp the humility of communication and the reality that you could also not be 100% correct, it then gives you an opportunity to talk to people. And so this is the second part, right? There's a huge difference between talking to people and talking at people. There is a huge difference between talking to people and talking at people. If you notice, and this is the easiest context I can give you, 9 out of 10 parents talk at their children. So if you ever see a parent interacting with their child, listen to the context as to which they communicate with their children. And what I've learned, because I have some really dope parents around me, and sometimes it's a level of awareness, and sometimes it's innate, and other times, it's something that they've worked on heavily. But some of the most well-behaved kids are kids that their parents talk to them and with them. It's engaging conversation, because we pretend like just because they're at a certain age, they don't understand, but they very well do, right? They're grasping things that their consciousness may not be able to articulate back to us or change a behavior immediately, but their subconscious is storing in information and they're learning. That's why they say your kids do what you do and not what you say, because a lot of times when you're talking at children, they don't receive it, but they will learn subconsciously from what they're observing, because the additional communication comes into play that's outside of your verbal communication. It's the bigger piece, the nonverbal, right? So when you're learning this, and again, this is something I have to practice on a regular basis because I'm trying to be aware of my communication. So talking at people is a disservice to the art of communication, because now I have removed the humility from it and removed the ability of myself to be wrong, right? Like if I tell you the sky is purple today, and if it's not an Arizona sunset, it's most likely not. But if I'm so adamant about it and I remove the humility from it, now I can't talk with you to gain your perspective and an understanding, right? So we'll get into comprehension in a moment. But talking to people is a great, great, great gift. Right? Because when you now talk to someone, you give them the space to speak back to you. And I've learned this in relationships, through friendships, intimate relationships, partnerships, business partnerships, is how much more, not influence, but integrity I have with a person when I give them the space to also share openly and honestly. So anyone who I talk to, like if we're in a conversation, I ask a lot of questions. Why? Because I'd rather understand where you're coming from than just tell you what I see. When I started this live today, I made it clear, like I see things differently. It could be an overthinker, it could be an intelligent thinker, whatever you want to call it. I might live in the matrix. I have no damn idea, and I don't really care. The reality is that I observe people, especially if we're in a real conversation, differently. I'm watching how you move, why you move, and what that movement then creates, and if there's consistency in it. I pay attention to the details because being attentive is how I store information, but I also value the quality of the communication. Right? Because somebody who's super jittery, now I go, are you jittery because you're nervous, or are you jittery because you're lying? Because now the information you're giving me doesn't really stand the test of time. Like it doesn't have the consistency, right? But one of the things my uncle used to say way back in the day, he's like, there's no point in lying he said there's no point in lying, so you might as well tell the truth, because if you always tell the truth, you have nothing to remember. And I was like, damn. That's so powerful though, right? But now when we look at it and we go, how can I communicate with you open and honestly? I now don't have, you see people let their guards down when they're just able to open up and speak, because now you're not talking at them, which causes them to regress, and sometimes regress back into trauma that existed long before you and that person even had any encounter. You can create a safe space, and sometimes it's gradual, right? It takes time to give people the reassurance that this is a safe enough space that they can share openly and honestly with you. And that's what I thrive in the most. The intimate relationships that I have with people are because I want you to be willing to share honestly and openly with me. I will say this though, the people I have that level of a relationship with know that when I finally do come to a conclusion that there's something of value I can share with you, I try to share it as directly as possible. I don't really like to beat around the bush, because I understand that I may not be right, but what's on my heart is on my heart, and it's my opportunity and my obligation to you and I and the value of our relationship to share it. It is not always received, and it's not always received well. But I can tell you from my heart of hearts, and any person that really rocks with me, I got a couple of people on here that I have very close relationships with, and if they can agree or attest, they will tell you that it may not be received well in the moment, but when you allow a message to marinate, to let it, what's country want to say, sizzle in your spirit, right? You allow it to take root. You allow the seed to take root, right? And get watered. Sometimes it takes a long time. You go, I may not have loved the delivery, but I love what he gave me because it was the value I needed that gave sustenance to a vision that I could not see, a perspective I may not have understood. That's what I fall in love with in this process, right? That's why I think the art of communication is so important. And again, and I must stress this, I am not an expert communicator. I am just intentionally working to become a better communicator. And what I've had to do was humble myself in the way that I started to communicate even more with women, right? Like I have conversations with women all the time, and I will tell you, and this is why. First off, I recognize divine femininity as a superior energy in this world. Thank you, God, right? Like awesome. But it also comes with a high level of irrationality and emotion. And that then forces me to step into a level of patience out of respect of the communication. So again, y'all, I'm just gonna be 100 with you. I suck at communicating. I value it, so I keep working at it. So some people will be like, yo, Marcus, like how you get up on stage and da-da-da-da-da, or you'll do Turn Up Tuesday, like I really aspire to do that. I'm terrible at it. And that's why I love it. Because it's an art that I'm constantly working to progress at. So I invest a lot of communication in women because there is an irrationality and a lack of logic at times. And not that logic is absent, so please don't get in your feelings, right? But the predominance of emotion that resides in feminine communication is powerful to me. Because for men, we've been taught that emotion is weakness. When as you mature and you grow up, you find out that emotion is strength. And the ability to communicate emotionally and clearly gives you the opportunity to not only water seeds, sometimes you could be the tidal wave in somebody's spirit that disrupts a lifetime of trauma, a decade of pain that they've been dwelling into, that maybe the tears that were falling from their eyes weren't powerful enough to wash away, but your ability to now communicate and break through that barrier with them gives them the ability to kind of clear the canvas and start over fresh. One of my favorite books, The Noticer by Andy Andrews, is all about perspective. And in that perspective, it comes from the investment of powerful and enriched and effective communication. And when you learn how to ride the wave, it's what I consider female communication, an emotional roller coaster. And when you learn to ride the wave, you can conquer any sea. And I don't mean conquer women. I mean the ability to conquer anything that's plaguing you. Because in masculine energy, it's fight. In feminine energy, it's love. And that is the foundation of effective communication that is lost. So the male mind is inherently logical. That's what we need. That's what we want, right? And so there's another aspect of communication. And this is something that, God, ladies that you're on the line, please don't get in your feelings. But if you do, you're welcome, right? Over talking and beating around the bush. Now, again, I spend a lot of my time talking to women for basically research purposes, but also I'm trying to immerse myself in different aspects of divine femininity because I'm learning. And this is something that really hit me when I was a freshman in high school, and I didn't grasp until adulthood, like right when I moved into the real world. And someone told me, like in my Spanish class, I was struggling to learn Spanish. And they go, well, where else do you speak Spanish outside of your 1 hour Spanish class? And I was like, never. And they go, well, the best way to learn Spanish is to fully immerse yourself in a Spanish speaking environment. So like if you went to Mexico and you stayed there for a summer, that's how you learn Spanish. So my intention is to immerse myself in divine femininity because there's aspects of communication that I get to learn, and it's also very, very, very humbling, right? to navigate the ability of patience, and I'm working on it intentionally because I always want the people around me to be better. And this has also allowed me to also give grace to the men that I interact with, because I'm now starting to approach it from the space of feminine grace, which is not easy. I understand. And so when I talk to women about feminine grace, I go, please operate in your truth, but don't be an enabler in the same right. So adopt a little masculine logic with your feminine divinity and grace and love. Because when you can then combine the two, you can now set boundaries that are effective, because there's a lot of women that I specifically know in my life that are fixers, right? Like they're like, oh, I want to take this project on, right? Well, you don't need to sign up for every class, right? Like if you're in college, let's be clear. I know there's a lot of really dope electives that you're like, man, I would really love to take that elective, but if it's out of alignment with your degree program, do that ish over the summer, or just watch it on YouTube and teach yourself, right? Like you don't have to sign up for every class. And so the power of communication is the ability to navigate in multiple worlds by also, this is the other piece, right, not over talking it. The clearer you can be and the more simple you can communicate, the more value is provided. Albert Einstein said, if you can't deliver a message or teach something in its simplicity, you don't understand it well enough. And that's with anything. So even when you're telling a story, the simplest route, what is it? The shortest distance between 2 points, between A and B, is a straight line. And now this is extremely valuable. Now I get it. I get it. Sometimes on your road trip, a detour is necessary. Sometimes that detour is so necessary because you want to see the trees and the bushes and the rocks and the waterfall and all of that. But in communication, simplicity is key. And there's so much power in being able to be clear, concise, and to the point, because it gives clarity, and clarity gives the opportunity for the other party to receive or clarify that they do not understand. Like, this is the power of effective communication. And it is so cool, right? Because I have people in my life who like are adamant that they are incredible communicators. And I watch communication, and again, you're not an incredible communicator if people just say yes to you. I had to really receive that. And I started to observe the communicators that I was learning from. One of my favorite, Uncle Jim Rohn, the godfather of personal development in my life. Eric Thomas, probably one of the most passionate speakers that I follow. Another gentleman, Inky Johnson, who works with Eric Thomas. Pastor Michael Todd, right? Like, these are individuals whose communication style I no longer sit in a space of envy of, I learned from, right? And then my prototype is the godfather in my life. Like, this is my great granddaddy, and that is the fictional character Jones in the book The Noticer, and that whole series. Because I deem Jones to be the epitome of a level of communication that I'm aspiring for. And if you've never read the book, it won't make sense. But there's a power that Jones has in this series, The Noticer Returns, and Just Jones, where even in conflictual communication, where the other party has now taken on an emotional state, or they're triggered, or they're upset, Jones has the ability to use communication to be a calming effort, but also hold up a mirror that creates ownership. And that's what I aspire for in communication. And that's why I say the art of effective communication, because it is an art. It is something that gets to be worked at. And the value and the foundation, what I learned was that to truly become an effective communicator, I had to realize that it's not about me. The message precedes. And I always attributed this saying to my grandmother, because I don't know if she said it, but she operated in this infinite wisdom that I attribute a lot of life philosophies to her, and seeing the trickle down through my mother. But it's, if you could have the most effective, you could have the most important message in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate it, it falls on deaf ears. And that means a lot to me, because I go, man, I could have a life-saving message for you, but if I don't work on my ability to communicate with you, that's also awareness, right? Being attentive to the other party. Because if I'm talking to you and you shut down, nonverbal, right? Like I had an encounter with a very close friend of mine and business partner over the weekend. And I said something to her, and I just watched her shoulders drop in her face, and she just got dejected. And in that moment, it wasn't because what I shared with her, I needed to share, because first and foremost, I'm protecting the people closest to me that matter the most to me, right? The additional people in the world that, we were referencing in this communication mean nothing to me. But first and foremost, my intention in life is, if you hold value, I'm protecting you first. Then I'm protecting our secondary environment, and then I'm protecting the outsiders. And then as soon as I saw the nonverbal change in her, it was an opportunity to, and this is the next level of what I believe to be effective communication, right? Context, right? Give the message, and if needed, because again, that emotional roller coaster that comes up in life, some people are going to require context, and some people are going to go, I got it. And because of the state of emotion, like normally in my immature state of communication, I've been like, yo, I told you I said. Like, that's what it gets to be. But in surrounding myself and immersing myself in feminine energy, in reality, I'm learning that when we say it is what it is, no, the F it's not. No, it's not. It is what we make it. So there's a huge opportunity, like in being present, to then, if you need additional context, take it, because we can communicate, we can talk about it. But the reality of what was said, I still hold true to. Could you disagree with it? Yes. But because I care about you first, I gotta share it. I have to. Had a great conversation with my mom yesterday. Went and saw her, saw my mom, my aunt, my stepfather, my grandpa, and there was this unsettling or this energy, and I was like, hey, this has to be said. Like, you are the parental in this communication, but this needs to be said in protection of us, of all of us. And once it's said, we go, okay, great. Now, how do we handle it, right? Because there's a level of communication that once context is necessary. And so, ladies, I'm also going to speak to you in this retrospect, because the male mind works so logically. Context is always necessary, because the scariest place in the world is the female mind. Scary. It's a scary place, and I love it. I'm a glutton for punishment, right? And with that being said, ladies, if you're already in mid-conversation with yourself about past, present, or future occurrences, when you decide to involve men in that conversation, or me specifically, I won't even speak for all men. Gentlemen, you can speak for yourself. When you decide to entertain and allow me into that conversation, I'm going to need context. Because what I found is that you could be on chapter 7, and I still haven't even had the opportunity. You didn't even give me the book yet, and I'm playing catch up. So if you could give context, right, it would be a great benefit in the power of effective communication, right? If you go, oh my God, like, I can't believe this happened, I'm going to look at you and be like, because now I have to rack my brain and be like, well, what happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Was I there when it happened? Was she there when it happened? Did it happen to somebody she knows? Or did it happen to us and I just completely missed it? But if you go, remember when we were at the grocery store? Got it. Now I have a sequence of events that my logical brain can track, because I understand emotional communication, but I need to make sure that we're on the same page. This is also why when, and it's a running joke and I've seen it everywhere, but gentlemen, if you're about to go out and you go to your girl, be like, yeah, babe, I'm going out. And she's like, yeah, do you. Every man on God's green earth that is of any state of awareness or high emotional intelligence will stop. Or if you go, how are you? And a woman goes, I'm good. No, the hell she's not. Right? But now we have to decipher Why are you not good? Right? And context is everything. If you create, because our intention in effective communication is to create understanding. Understanding is a game changer, right? So I am a huge advocate of comprehension instead of communication, because like we talked about earlier, it's easy to talk at people. It's so easy to talk at people with the intention of, I'm right, you're wrong, listen to me, take this. But when you start to communicate through comprehension, the opportunity and the objective is understanding. And so, one of the greatest questions that I love, what did you take away from this? And I stopped asking it for a really long time because I found that it was confronting for people because, I'll just tell you some of the reasons. People felt as if I was telling them, like, you've now lied to me. Like, we had this conversation and you weren't really paying attention. Because people go, I was paying attention. I'm like, well, that's not what I asked you. I'm asking, what did you take away from it? What do you understand from what we're talking about? So that we're on the same page, and therefore the opportunity for context. But because a lack of humility and reliance on ego causes a defensive nature, when you get defensive, guess what happens? The person you're interacting with can tend to get defensive. And these are all about effectively communicating with people. And this is why I call it an art. It's like dancing, right? Like, if we go out dancing and you start dancing salsa and I start breakdancing, we look like damn fools. But people who in their mind go, I'm a great communicator and I'm a breakdance until you start breakdancing with me, lack humility and comprehension. Right? Because now this song and dance is so that we both can be in alignment. So as I really evaluate the art of communication, my intention is to dance, right? To have a beautiful flow with the people that I'm interacting with. And I really wanted to make sure that I state this from my heart of hearts, because I briefly touched on it, and it was falling in love with your voice. I would encourage everybody to say what they need to say. You may not say it in the moment, right? Because you have a tendency. This is the only way I know how to say this, is that trying to keep the peace for everyone else will create chaos within you. So when you bite your tongue and there's something that you need to say and you don't say it, it now consciously and subconsciously teaches you to devalue the voice you were given. And something that, was really big in church was, if you don't use your God-given gifts, he'll take them away from you. And sometimes the gift isn't the lack of ability to speak, but sometimes it's the lack of ability to speak to a person. Right? Like, if you've ever needed to apologize and a person passed away, or they moved away and you no longer have communication. Like, have you ever been plagued by, man, I really wish I could say sorry to so-and-so, and you have no way of getting in communication with them, right? Like, there's a massive opportunity for us to evolve into the better versions of ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to be true to ourselves. Right? And sometimes communicating with somebody, right? When you have something to say to somebody, you don't have to wait till you're pissed off. Because now, like we talked about, nonverbal communication can water down and distract from the actual message that needs to be delivered. So when you're actually engaging with somebody and you're like, yo, listen, I gotta tell you this at level 1, 2, or 3, because I don't want to go 0 to 100. Because at 100, I've lost you. At 100, I've broken down the barriers of trust within our relationship. If I shake up a 2-liter bottle of soda and I shake it up, throw it on the ground, shake it up, what happens when I bust the cap? Soda everywhere. Everywhere. And now I ask, is there any way for you to put that soda back in the bottle? And this is what happens in communication when we allow things to fester within us because we don't honor our voice. We don't fall in love with our voice. We don't fall in love with the message. We don't honor ourselves and the relationship that we have before us. And so we keep bottling things up. And then when we finally speak on it, it's in a space of frustration. Now, I will tell you that some people need to hear something multiple times before it really sinks in. Sometimes instead of getting from 0 to 100, you got to let them know it's 0 to 10, 0 to 25, and in 0 to 33, they finally get it, because people take multiple touches. But you also understand that in effective communication, you're dealing with a completely different human being, an entity that exists with different experiences, a different perspective on the world, and they sometimes need multiple touches or to be taught how to receive or how to understand what it is you're receiving. But when we don't honor our voice at 10, at 25, at 33, at 47, at 56, at 77, at 88, and now we're at 100, we wonder what the hell happened. And I can tell you, because I've been that person, you happened. Marcus happened. The common denominator in some of these occurrences where it has gone completely left and it's been an explosion of energy, and sometimes you caused it, sometimes you receive it, happens because we don't honor ourselves in the process to speak on it before it gets to that point. And I, for too long, have held my tongue in situations where I'm like, I need to speak on this. And what happens is the person that I don't share the message with operates in this oblivious ignorance that they're inherently right. And they can't be told otherwise because I didn't tell them. If not you, then who? And so I live with this burden, and I thoroughly enjoy it, because I've also lost friendships over how I communicate and my willingness to share things that sometimes people don't want to hear. But I'd rather lose you and be honest with you, because I'm always going to be in a space of my mission is to protect first. Male or female friends, doesn't matter. Clients, business partners, anybody. I'm going to say what needs to be said because you might need to hear it. And you go, well, I've been wondering why things have been off, things have been off, things have been off, things have been off, things have been off. That's because nobody took the time to say, hey, you realize you've been walking with a pebble in your shoe? Like, you don't hear that scrape in the ground? You don't see your foot bleeding? And then all of a sudden they take the pebble out the shoe and all of a sudden they can run faster. Now, the God's honest truth is I've had people take their pebble out their shoe, run faster, and never even acknowledge that our interaction opened that door, because that's not my purpose. That's not my mission. That's not my job. And it's not yours either. Your responsibility isn't to get the accolades for the work that you're doing or the person you're becoming. Your mission is to be it, because there's a light within you that is going to bless others tremendously. And our natural ability to communicate effectively. Stop playing small. You're not another face in the crowd. I don't care who told you that shit. They lied. They damn well lied. That person that played you for granted, that person that didn't hear you out, that parent that told you children keep their mouths shut around here, right? That person that disrespected you when you shared something intimate with them, that friend that threw things in your face, that person that stabbed you in the back, that person that was staying close to you so they could learn more about you, to talk more about you. Like, those are the people that you invest. Like, you don't create your being based off the traumas of people disrespecting you. You become the person that they thought you couldn't be, even though they thought they were bringing shade upon you, right? Like, the sun doesn't care about the moon in a lunar eclipse, because what does it do? It still shines bright. Why do they tell you not to look at an eclipse? You'll go blind, because the sun is still shining, even with shade being cast upon it. So we can no longer measure our present and our future based on the past experiences of a broken ruler. Like, we're setting ourselves up for failure and the opportunity to communicate effectively and step into our truth. This is why I thoroughly love IG Live. There is no editing. I don't get a chance to crop this out. I don't get a chance to manufacture a message. I just get to be. And it is the most uncomfortable experience of my life, and that is why I love the hell out of it. I love this experience. For the 14 of you that are still on right now, right? These numbers go up and down. Thank you for being present. Because this is my fear factor, and I do it scared, and I love it. Like, I love it. I literally have to turn my AC down because I start sweating like crazy. I'm over here fidgeting with my chapstick. Why? Because I feel like there's a message on my heart, and I have to sit in that discomfort in order to be in my truth. And so I encourage you not to run from the struggle, but persist and progress through the pain. Become who you were created to be, and that comes with a level of communication. There are people in my life that I still have messages for, and I've had messages for, and it's never been easy because I'm like, man, are they going to receive it? It is not up to me to decide if they're going to receive it. I'm cheating them out of not being the person who has the message for them. So as I continue to step into my greatness, I will continue to speak my truth. And I encourage you with every ounce of my being, with all the love that I have and all the love that many of the women in my life have taught me. Give your love in abundance. If people leave your life, at least they'll look back and go, I've never felt love like that before. You could be the greatest gift to somebody's life and they still find a reason to judge you, to blame you, and to be a victim to you. But if you operate in your truth, you're being the blessing that they may not have been mature or ready to receive. So we get to step into this life one time and live it to the fullest. Be the best version of yourself every single day. And on this TurnUp Tuesday, the art of effective communication is only going to enhance your ability to be a light to this world. You have a gift. You are the gift. Be the gift and allow it to bless those around you. Stop playing small. Stop hiding in the background. Do it scared. Do that shit scared. You're not obligated to be perfect. I don't care what anyone says. Yo, you want people critiquing you. Listen, I put up a post on another channel not too long ago, and people were weighing in, and they were just coming for me, and I'm laughing because in my joy, I go, listen, whether you agree with me or disagree, you can't faze me. I am not afraid of you. I love IG, I love social media, but what I've learned is that I get the most hate from people that don't even have a profile image, right? Like, you weren't even man or woman enough to own your existence. My profile is public for a reason. I ain't afraid of you mudsuckers. I had to edit that because I don't know how IG's rocking. I ain't afraid of y'all. What you gonna do, talk about me? I'm gonna give you something to talk about. It's like the same person complaining because the sun burned their eyes. You think the sun blinked twice about you? You better get some shades, because it's our opportunity to shine. And in this opportunity, it's to work on the areas in your life that you desire, not perfection, but progression. And as I progress in my gift of communication, I will use opportunities and outlets like this to just be the best version of me. Sometimes I get hyped, so I had to bring myself back down, right? Because I was about to get fired up, and realizing that sometimes we cater to the haters. If there was anybody that I would highly encourage you to tell kiss your ass, you might have to tell them to their face. One of my boys asked me the other day, he was like, yo, MJ, man, you be on TurnUp Tuesday and you do not hold back. Like, you be like, yo, you don't like me, kiss my, you right. And listen, and Mom, I'm grown, right? Like, it is what it is. I said it. I'm like, you right. Because I got people who don't like me still want to walk up and dap me up. Yo, what's up, man? Yo, what's good? Nothing. I don't rock with you. And this is why you feel that. Because I'm not going to hide it. Right? Because again, my verbal and nonverbal communication with you is going to be different than what you see me give to the people I rock with. I don't care what room I'm in. I'm in a room of 200 people. If I rock with 3, those 3 are going to feel me on a whole nother level. On a whole nother level. Now, if I'm on stage and I'm speaking life into a room, listen, I'm just going to be. But I also know that the connections that I have, I'm not going to water down because I don't have that with somebody else. If I plug a plug into an outlet, it's going to get all my power. But as soon as I plug one of those power strips and it has 10 outlets on there, guess what happens? The same amount of power isn't delivered to every single outlet. It gets diminished. And what I refuse to do is diminish the energy that I give to you. I will give it to you in my fullest. I will be in my truth with you. Why? Because that's what you deserve. Because we've progressed to this point of connection. I don't care that somebody's like, yo, why you hug them like that and not me? Because I don't know you like that. And when I go heart to heart with somebody that I know, you gonna feel my heart, and I don't feel bad about it. I just go, hey, if there's an opportunity for us to progress to that level, this guilt trip ain't gonna get you there. I'm not getting down like that, because I'm gonna be true to who I am, so that when I communicate with you, it is the most effective way possible. And it's now being a work in progress. It's fluid. Like Bruce Lee said, be water. Right? Mold to your environment. But don't put yourself in just any environment. Not anybody's environment is willing or able to hold you, right? Like, yo, somebody will come in here with a teacup and you are a total gallon of water. What are you going to do? Drown them out, right? Because they weren't equipped to hold space for you. So now you evaluate your communication with people based on your ability to have a deeper relationship with them. And that then enhances everything. But it also grants you the opportunity of grace in that process. I know, because the people who rock with me, they give me grace. Why? Because I give you no other option. I'ma just be true to you. I'm loyal to the soil, and I'm gonna be true to you. And if you don't like it, you be like, damn, this dude, for real, yo, like there's aspects of this dude I do not really rock with, but I gotta give him grace, because I know if I tell him, he's willing to work on it for me. There's things about me that I cannot change, I will not change. But because you communicate with me, I can then catch. My business partner that I referenced earlier, there's ways that I've learned to adapt my communication to her. Why? Because I value her. She's one of my closest friends. Is it easy? Hell no. Is it worth it? Hell yes. And that's why you pay respect to the art of effective communication. You treat people with love and respect. You give them love and respect, and you're going to get love and respect back. And even if it's not from the person you gave it to, God is going to bless you. So stay true to you, do you, and have a damn good time doing it. Because this is the opportunity to be a light to the world, right? Be everything you were created to be and nothing that they taught you to be, right? Like sometimes people are trying to condition you to operate in a space that they're unwilling to give to you. You know how many people are trying to talk you or manipulate you into being something that they would never be for you? And now we have the grace and understanding to be aware. And that's all you want. You want to be aware, be on point, and be everything that you can be. Because on Turn Up Tuesday, this is where we set the stage, we change the game, and we become the best version of ourselves. Let's get it!